children are born, they're surrounded by, it's all Western toys. It's all teddy bears, it's all Mickey Mouse, all these things, right?
Disney
And then I
characters.
said, where's that? Exactly, Disney characters, or you know what we're talking about. And I was like, so where's our culture? Why is it not represented? We should just create a very simple toy that sings mantras, which was this, I guess, Ganesh. I have the smaller version, but basically we wanted to create something simple. You press it and it starts singing mantras. Our motto is to spark curiosity about our culture.
Namaskar, hello, welcome back to Good Vibe Show. Joining us today is Viral Modi, the co-founder of Modi Toys, a family-owned business deeply rooted in Indian culture. Viral, along with his sister Avani Modi, embarked on this incredible venture driven by a shared passion to instill cultural appreciation in their children. With a passion for preserving heritage and a dedication to sustainability, Modi Toys creates a range of products that not only entertain but also educate and inspire. Please join me in welcoming Viral Modi to Good Vibe Show.
Hi, Viral. Welcome to Good Vibe Show.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanna, for having me on the Good Wife Show. This is actually a very interesting opportunity since I'm not the front, I guess, front face of the business. It's usually my sister. So let's see how this goes.
Okay, yes, looking forward to it. So, Viral, let's start from the beginning. I know you moved to USA when you were a child. So, how did your parents and family ensure that you stay connected to your roots and your culture?
So I think this is the interesting. So we moved to US in 92 when I was 14.
Mhm.
My sister was 8 and my brother was 17. So it was a, interesting mix and match. And I basically remember our earliest memories that when we first landed, the culture shock is obvious. And we were at the very crust, like I guess, it was at the crust where, I don't know, is the right word, but basically inflection point, you might say, where the Indian immigration in US was really like at like, it was about to hit the peak because IT revolution had not started yet. It was still about 80 years away. But, that's like when we started noticing. So we always felt like we were surrounded by Indian community. So my dad was working. So my dad came to US 2 years before we did.
Mhm.
So he kind of settled and, he had a job in an Indian office. He was in a CA's office. So there was already like a mix of friends and, from his office. And my dad's best friend was also here. He's the one who kind of supported him when he came here. So we always were surrounded by that community. So that's where the Indian, kind of like, we stayed connected through that. And there was one temple, which we actually still go to. It's called Ved Mandir. That was right next to our house.
Okay.
So our earliest memories were to make sure my parents were taking us there every weekend. And in the beginning, that was like the only activity that we could do because besides the touring and all those things, obviously you want to explore. But, that's something that my parents are very religious. So, and when you're in India, you kind of take this for granted. So, for example, we just came from a temple that's like 5 minutes away from our house. And here, going to temple is like, basically like breathing because
Right.
you have so many options here. But in that time in US, there was only one temple that we remember. Luckily now, in present day, we're surrounded like in every direction. We have like a Jain temple. So there's a lot of diversity there, but that was not there. And my parents kind of made sure that, and also, these things were happening. There were a lot in the weekends. We remember like it was mostly like hanging out with friends and family, and then it was the other part was also attending events. So there were like plays that were happening. There were a lot of these dance shows. I don't know if those are happening anymore, but the kids' dance shows and those things were like they were a big deal like back in the 90s. So we used to do those things in the beginning. And
Uh,
obviously, as kids,
mhm.
we had just got US, so we were more inclined to be Western, unfortunately. But that's just when you're young, you're fascinated by a new culture, and in 90s, you can imagine like there was this great fascination with this new world with the West. So I was more drawn towards the American lifestyle. But
Mhm.
my parents did a great job. In the house, we always spoke Gujarati. That was like a rule. And I had an uncle. We have a Prakash uncle. He's my dad's best friend, and I still remember, and he still does it. He always says like, talking Gujarati because he knew that, when you come to US, the American culture is such that it just takes over. You start becoming like, your first language is English. So that's something I remember. My uncle reminding, speaking Gujarati.
Amazing. Yeah, many parents here do that. Like, they encourage their children to speak a native language so that they learn. It's tough.
It's tough. I mean, I'll give you my example. So this is a little bit taking much into future. So I have young daughters with me. So one is 7, one is 2. I'm mostly speaking to my 2-year-old in English because unfortunately, that's what ended up happening in 30 years living in US. I started thinking in English, and that's when you kind of start realizing that you're losing touch with your native tongues.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you recently moved to India for Modi Toys with your family, and it's a big decision. So, how is it life now in India, and how are your kids adjusting to this new life after being raised in USA?
Oh my God, it's hot. So today it's actually feels like outside. If you can see every room, I have to like turn the AC on and the fans on because it's like 100 and it's supposed to be like 95, but it feels like it's 110 with the humidity.
Mm,
So one thing is you're gonna have to kind of get used to it is the heat and the crowd. It's completely different. In US, it's much easier life comparatively speaking. But here, my kids are adjusting. They actually are upset that they don't get to go out too much
yeah.
because let's say in the afternoon everything shuts down here. Like nobody goes out, nothing happens. And luckily we stay in a building where we have a pool, we have a clubhouse. So we take them in the pool sometimes, mostly in the morning before 10, before 9 o'clock, and in the evening after like the sunset. So those things are there, but they're adjusting. I think they have adjusted much faster compared to my wife because she has to kind of. So we moved to Noida. We did not move to Mumbai where she's from originally,
Hmm.
and I'm from Ahmedabad. So we didn't really move there. We moved to Noida where it's mostly Hindi speaking crowd.
Mhm.
And what's funny is that when I remember the life in India, I don't know if you remember this. I don't know how much in touch you were with like the Indian lifestyle is basically like your neighbors are like your family. Like, if you need to babysit, you need to go in and it's not as formal as US. So we just assume that, okay, if I have a 2-year-old, if I have to go somewhere, we can just drop them off to our neighbors and my neighbor will be happy to like look after them, stuff like that. Or we just thought like our babies will be like playing at somebody's house. We wouldn't know because that's just how India is. But unfortunately, in the building I live in, they're very much cosmopolitan, I would say. So they're more Americanized than we are. I was expecting some more Indian nature, but they're more like it's like living in America. Everybody minds their own business. It's very quiet. People are into their own. They basically stay quiet. They stay you know in their apartments mostly. So that's like a change that I didn't expect.
Yeah, it's about changing times, just like USA now, in India also, people live in their own world and everybody is busy in their own lives. It's
It's the
not about,
phones. I think it's the phones. I think it's the phones. Not the kids. Like, because the kids are supposed to like go out and like mingle and they're supposed to stay. But I think that's one thing I'm noticing is
Hmm.
that I'm disappointed slightly. I was hoping that society here would not be as Americanized as it was over there.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. But let's move on and let's
Yeah.
talk about Modi Toys now. So, what inspired you and your sister Avni to start Modi Toys?
So it was mostly the whole family, right? So I think I don't want to get into the more spiritual aspect of it, but I think it was just meant to happen with us. I say that because there were a lot of events that happened leading up to this where we came. So what happened? This happened like in January 2017. My wife was expecting our first child, my first daughter, and then my sister was also expecting around the same time. So their due date actually ended up becoming like a week apart. So what ended up happening is and another thing is that you also have to understand, we come from a very business-oriented family. So I was the only person who had not started a business. So this was kind of gnawing at me. So I was in consulting, business consulting for like about 20 years. I did all that outsourcing, setting up teams, all those things. And I just kind of was getting to a point where like I just felt like I had enough of the corporate America. And I was looking for something where I would be independent. I would not have to like constantly like, beg people to like do something for their own good. Like so my wife, what she was doing was she started reading Ramayana and Gita when when she was pregnant.
Hmm.
And basically, one of the things I've noticed in this Indian family, like a lot of people do this. So, it's not that this gave me there was a light bulb moment. But as soon as the children are born, they're surrounded by, I've seen every playroom, because even I'm an older brother to like about 8 cousins in my own family. It's all Western toys. It's all teddy bears. It's all Mickey Mouse, all these things, right?
Disney
And then I
characters.
said, where's that? Exactly. Disney characters or, you know what we're talking about. And I was like, so where's our culture? Why is it not presented? So I shared this idea with my sister because we used to watch Shark Tank episodes and discuss it, all the business viability of all the ideas that were presented. And we kind of we said like we should do this. We should just create a very simple toy that sings mantras, which was this, I guess, Ganesh. I have the smaller version, but basically we wanted to create something simple. You press it and it starts singing mantras. So we kind of I searched for it. So, well, backing up a little bit. So I wanted to present this to my daughter. I wanted to make sure that when she was born, that she has something like this in her crib. I was shocked that this did not exist. It was a very simple idea, just a
Hmm.
Ganesh toy, it has mantras in it. And I was shocked and I was all happy. I was like, this is an opportunity. Let's not talk about it. So I only spoke to my sister. We didn't tell anybody about it. We
Hmm.
kind of started like one of the first things that we Googled was like how to make a plush toy. So
Wow.
that's how our journey started, is that this basically was inspired by, our family experiences mostly.
Amazing. Such a unique and innovative idea because I have never seen like, with Hindu gods and mantras.
I feel that I have no idea why this was not done by now because it's such a simple idea. It's actually makes sense because out of any toys, and if you think about it, like every direction you go into, now we're going to discuss this a little bit later. Now we're getting requests where people want to like, make different toys or they want to like insert their own mantras. Like you have mantras in Tamil, you have mantras in Malayalam. So I don't want to speak too much, reveal our own, reveal the directions we're going into. But now we're getting approached. I mean, just right before this call, my sister had just texted me that, oh, there's this idea that a customer gave us. So we're getting like people are giving us more ideas now that we have started this. And there are so many different products where we felt inspired by our customers and we just said, okay, we're going to do this. And we have done it. So now we have like a diversity of products on our site. We started with Ganesh. And as you can see, we have like, these are just some of the toys. These are my daughter's, playroom, but we have Lakshmi, Hanuman and Krishna, the big ones. And then we also have small and medium size in there.
Wonderful. This is amazing. Fantastic. So, Viral, I'm really curious to understand, what goes into the product development process. Like, what happens behind the scene, like from an idea of a toy and how it converts into a plush toy with, singing mantras. How does it happen? Can you give us a walkthrough of the process?
So without revealing our secret, so basically, even till this day, the product development is mostly handled by myself and my sister. So one of the reasons that I also moved to India was to become a little bit more, give ourselves more flexibility in terms of hiring these type of talents. So I'll give you an example. Someone gives us an idea. One of the first things that we do is we do a research. And let's say, you know, we one thing we take pride in is becoming the first of our own. We want to make products that don't exist in the market.
Hmm.
It's not just you know, from a business standpoint, it makes sense because there's a gap in the market and, you have least amount of competition before the copycats come in. We'll discuss that later as well. But, um, that's the direction we want to go into because it creates like a unique opportunity that um, that basically we want to say that we created something rather than we copied. We do take inspiration, but we don't take like obviously the plush toy that concept existed, but this was not applied in our for our Hindu toys, Hindu culture. So that's something that we take pride in. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is we start kind of illustrating it out and we start sketching it out. So mostly it's my sister who takes the lead on that. And then we have a graphic designing team here. So we have actually worked with graphic designers everywhere. We have one in US, one in UK, and one in India. Now we're focusing mostly on India since I'm here. So we're building out a team, and it comes from sketch to it goes to the illustration. It becomes a digital art file, and then that file gets sent to our manufacturer. So it depends. If it's a book idea, then it goes to a printer, and if it's a specific product, then it goes to our manufacturer or toy maker to make it. But I'm kind of trying to condense it as much as possible. But there's a lot of stuff involved, and we also have we work with a recording studio that one is in Mumbai and another is located in Chandigarh, right here in Punjab. So we also working with local artists. So we are making sure, and the other thing is we're making sure that as much as possible, we're benefiting the Indian economy. That's our big goal. We still have to rely on China for some stuff, which is not available in India, but most of the stuff, we're like I would say that we're 98% made in India.
Amazing. So, is there any challenges that you face with your operations and logistics? Because some of the things are made in China and some of the things are made in India. So, how does the operating model work?
It is, challenges are going to be there everywhere. So because, let's just say, for example, tomorrow Trump gets elected. I don't want to get into politics, but like a new tariffs come into play or something comes into play, new bans come in, some product bans, you have no idea like where it might go. So you always have to keep on top of the policies. But one thing I've noticed is that American companies and even Indian companies are very creative, especially the businessmen and people who are doing involved in logistics. They're very creative. They try to work around these things without actually breaking any laws or rules. So we try to work with them. So we have now what we do is as much as possible. I have a team here, so we're trying to educate ourselves and do everything ourselves. So I'll give you an example. We have received the ID code, which is import export code, which helps us speed up the process of moving things and getting documentation in place, which is the biggest challenge in India. So at least we know that now if we wanted to, we are also exporters. So now we can actually export on our own instead of like relying on other parties. So let's say it's like when it comes to it, we are brand owners technically, and we own intellectual property. Then we have to work with third party manufacturer to create our products. And then we had to work with logistics teams, a logistics company that actually offers like, exporting services as well as clearance services and then shipping services. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to do as much as possible in our office. So it helps us just get the products to the market as much faster comparatively. And that's one of the things that has happened in India. So I'll give you an example. This year we just launched like our large toys, which are 6 different designs, which we were not doing in the previous. So our time to market has reduced. We are doing it much faster because we have a team here now that's operating in India.
Okay, great. So, how has been the reaction from the Indian and non-Indian communities towards your products?
So now that I'm in India and we're actually directly selling in the Indian market, we are learning a lot. So we are still, and I don't mean this in any negative way, but we are still getting appreciated we're getting more appreciation, in the NRI communities. So our toys are much more in demand when it comes to like Indians that are living all outside India, specifically in US, Canada, UK, Australia, South Africa, Malaysia, Singapore. Those are our top markets. Maybe missing a few, Dubai. But when it comes to India, one thing that we have is we are considered a little bit of a premium price product. So we're working on those, but we can't really just translate that here because India is comparatively like average salaries, average family income is much lower than those Western countries. So I think that's the difference where we had to understand the customer here, and we're trying to now kind of appeal to them in that way. So, for example, like if you're only going to focus on like the top layer or the creamy part, I guess they call I learned that term recently, the creamy, which is like the upper middle class and above.
Mhm.
Your business gets limited. So we want to make sure that, we expand our product offering so that more and more people can start because there's a need. We see that we get messages and we also get those messages like, oh, हमको आपका toy चाहिए लेकिन बहुत महंगा है. To
Okay.
translate that for English speakers is that, oh, we want to buy your toy, but it's expensive for us.
Mhm.
And we understand that. So that's something that we want to understand the Indian market and start creating products that also appeal to them.
Yeah, so you want to make it accessible and affordable for everyone.
Exactly. And also, doing more and more of those things on our own. See, one of the benefits I had was, so not just, not just Indian, but also our NRI market. We want to make sure that now next year, our goal is to bring the unit cost, down for our customers. So next year, we want to start making these toys that are going to cost less. Even though the prices are going up, our toys are going to be actually coming down the prices. And it's because we're working with the manufacturers to, um, make certain changes that can help us bring those costs down. So that's benefit of actually being in India. If I was staying in US, I don't think that would be possible. So it could be anything like, we're using something that's, and one other benefit I will give you is also one of the things that we found out was the value add that we received. So we're using GRS certified stuffing, which is the same cost as a regular stuffing, but the
Mhm.
GRS certified stuffing is actually made out of recycled bottles. So this is something that we had no idea that was happening. So now we can actually communicate. So there's an environmental message that goes around with it. Is that so? This toy is actually on average helping recycle 70 plastic bottles, water bottles that would not be going in the ocean. They're actually being used for stuffing, which is which is a huge deal, which I had no idea.
Amazing. Yeah, these days consumers are also very cautious, they make sure they buy eco-friendly products. So this is amazing. Uh,
And then let's just say if somebody was offering you stuffing that's made out of recycled plastic bottles, you would just assume that it's going to cost more, but it's not.
yeah.
So we're also making sure that we're making the type of, we're making our toys from these type of, material that's recycled, and it's also not going to add to the cost. So that helps us understand that much better. And uh, I'll give you an example. Like I had met with someone, manufacturer, where they basically did not really think that I knew the difference, and they said, okay, they were trying to take advantage of me, where they told me that if I was using GRS certified material, then my cost would increase by 20%, which is a huge deal. But I already knew the information, and then, you follow up. So I kind of am able to like go and meet with like manufacturers so that you get this type of, you kind of become a little bit smarter when it comes from, brand owner and making, and a toy maker.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Viral, you also mentioned about copycats. So is that a challenge in India? Like, do you have competitors or people who are trying to copy your concept?
Oh, you should follow us. We are actually coming out with, let's just say this. One of the things that keeps me busy is I have to spend time with lawyers. So I hate doing that. Like one of the things that I found out, I'm a, I kind of, I it took me so long to become, start this company, but at heart, I'm a toy maker. Like I love just making new products.
Hmm.
So, Ganesh Chaturthi, we're making a 5 foot plush Ganesh plush. This is for promo only, and we're going to be shipping it to US. So this is actually one of those things that it helps, like it fills me, like it annoys my manufacturer. So it's one of those things like, but see, that's the kid in me. Like I love doing that because this is a new idea. This is something that this is going to be the biggest, like a Hindu plush in the world that
Mm-hmm.
we're making. Nobody has made 5 foot plush grenade. So, and it's something that's going to be displayed, and we want the kids to kind of interact with it, stuff like that. And I want to see like how we're gonna build out the booth, how we're gonna make it. We want to make it like so somebody can press a button, it sings mantras. But then all of a sudden, like this copycats distract the hell out of me, because what's happening now is that on Amazon, somebody is using not just our designs, but they're actually taking the pictures from our own websites
Oh
and
my.
they're displaying it on their page. They're rebranding it under their brand, and they're like, okay, this is the same, this is the toy you're gonna get. And we just kind of, and what they're doing is they're selling it at like 60% less cost. So which screws up our market, because if you see two products, two pages that look exactly the same pictures, you're not gonna look at the branding. Like I'll just call them out. There's a brand called Hugs and Feels, and they're on Amazon. They've downloaded our pictures and our pictures. So we ordered their product to see, let's see what it comes out as, and it's terrible. It's ugly. Like it's in my office. I cannot show you the difference. But I have a picture that I've taken to compare theirs and ours, and it's just completely horrible. Like they don't give a damn. They've
Mm-hmm.
obviously not given a damn. So like show you this is the Hanuman that, oh sorry, this is the Hanuman that we have. And what they have done is they're completely like their gada is completely stitched in the front, mouth is completely like out of shape. And we took a lot of care in designing it. And they just didn't give a damn. Like this hand is like in the back. So it's very poor quality. And then you can just tell some like 5-year-old must have stitched it and sent it out. So, and it's also not made with like a healthy material. So you could have a lot of, I don't know, the stuffing that's used is low quality. And God forbid if it comes out and somebody ingests it, it could actually, land them in hospital. So these are the kind of stuff that we have noticed where it's terrible. But unfortunately, this is just one example. One of our main competitor has copied our Krishna. They have completely knocked it off. Then there's another one who's also doing the same thing. There's a factory that actually ordered the Krishna from us, and they just made a copies and they're selling it for like half the. So my manufacturer is also annoyed with this because this actually screws up his market.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, let's say he's selling us for 100 rupees, like one unit. Then this guy is making the same exact copy, most likely poorly made, and he's selling it for 50 rupees in the market, which screws up my manufacturer's cost.
Yeah.
So this is just three examples we have noticed, and our lawyers are already working on it, and I'm pretty sure more people are going to do that. But that stuff becomes very common here,
Yeah, I
but
can.
it does hurt our market in India.
Mm-hmm.
Not outside yet, but if given time, if they're not if we're not taking care of them legally, this can become a bigger issue.
Yeah, but these days customers are also, very smart. They can make out the difference between what is a quality product and what is not. So,
So I don't want to, you know, I don't want to sound negative or insult the customer base, but when it comes to let's say when you're doing online shopping, the way these guys are very smart, at least the people who are selling, what do you call them, sellers on Amazon, for example. They're very smart, and I'll give you an example of that. Hugs and Feels. What they've done is they've basically downloaded our pictures. So if you download the pictures, I don't blame if someone makes a mistake and the price is so different. Pricing is so different that they're looking at like our toy, which is going to cost like 500 rupees. They're charging only 200 rupees. So if in India, this is a huge issue. There's a price conscious customer base. So you're not going to go towards a 500 rupees product. You're only going to buy that's what's 200 because the picture shows. Now, when it comes to in your mailbox, that's a different matter. And you feel completely disappointed. Or let's say if somebody sends it out to the gift, because this is a huge gifting product, that also becomes a issue. Like it's not necessary that someone who's being gifted this might return it.
yeah, that's true.
So people take advantage of customers, and I think that's where I feel bad for them is that I hope that it gets to that point, but what ends up happening is it increases our cost. Let's say if we have to educate, this becomes additional cost. We already have to spend money to like advertise, market our products, and then you have to spend additional money to like educate, so that that increases our overall cost. And then when it comes to that, we want to bring the cost down for our toys, not increase them. So this is what ends up happening.
Yeah, this is a serious problem. So I understand you're meeting with the lawyers, to ensure that, you can protect your products. So what are the lawyers going to do? Like, is there any law or like, copyright or patent that you can do to
So we
protect
have,
your
oh
products?
yeah, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. So yeah, they are, the reason we are able to go after them is because we have already patented these toys. So we have gotten design patents issued on all our designs. So that's one benefit we have, is that we have legal basis to go after them. At least intellectual property, we own it, so we can go after them. But here, I think the process is a little bit not as straightforward as US. Here, you have to basically send them a notice, because they can just and then there's an option. So if I want to, let's say, this is kind of egregious, but apparently this happens. So I can actually have the police actually raid their factory, seize everything, close their factory down, and seize their property, and just take it for myself, because I have the right, and judge has issued the order. Or I can send them a notice or sue them monetarily. But usually that never happens. In US, you can sue them, and they're specific. Let's say if they have, I've lost like $100,000 in business, then I can actually sue only for that 100,000. It's not like I'm going to be able to sue them for $1 million that they may have made in their overall business. So the law is differs here. So I'm not really sure like those, but again, that's a cost. That's an added cost to like my operations that
Yeah.
doesn't really help me. And it distracts me. So I have to now really get involved in these things, and it distracts me from what I want to actually do, is make new products, and make sure that our brand keeps growing. But it's part of doing business.
Okay. So how is Modi Toys funded?
So right now it's completely self-funded. So we usually just make whatever. So we do um, we kind of pay ourselves very small amount to kind of get us by, but we make sure that reinvest everything back in the business. So that's one of the reasons we're also looking for investors, because of the copycats. We have million ideas. Like there are ideas that are ready to be, not only just products we have, so we're also coming out with bobblehead, which is I'm very excited by, because they've actually come out since we last spoke. That was just like that was in a very I guess an idea. It was still in my head, and now we actually have a prototype, and it's already shipped. It's already going to be launched pretty soon. So that's something we're excited by, and these are the kind of ideas that we have. It's not, that's just one category, that we will have other categories we want to expand into. So this is where, having investments is going to help us a lot. It's going to help us move faster. So I'll give you an example. Like we want to build our own design team. So right now, one full-time person and one freelancer that works for me. But if we had like a team of 2 to 3 people, we can actually start sketching out more ideas, more designs, at least get them prototyped. And it's not necessary. There's like an R&D. We might do like 10 products, and only 2 or 3 might actually go to the market. Rest might just not go. So, but we want to do that. We want to start investing more into that. And then also sales teams. Sales team is going to be something that we're noticing a lot of growth in wholesale markets. Every year, like every month now, we're noticing growth in wholesale and international distribution, not just US, India. Definitely, we're looking for that, but in international markets. So, like in Patel Brothers, for example, like in US, they have a huge grocery chain. So we're trying to find like different chains in different countries, wherever the Indian population is. Now we're everywhere. So we want to make sure that we can, plug into those channels, distribution channels. So we're looking for, that specific strategic help that would help us kind of elevate and not worry about these type of, people who are just busy knocking us off.
Yeah.
I'm happy that they're knocking us off, because one part of me is thinking, let them knock us off, I think I would be more worried about someone who's thinking more creatively. And so far, we're happy that they're just like happy looking at our products and then copying them and going to the market.
Yeah. So, Veeral, I'm sure you're aware that you have a very, very famous last name, and many people would have asked you, like, what made you choose the name Modi Toys?
It was actually very simple. So this goes back to the idea when this idea came to us. The idea was clear. We wanted to make toys that were going to be, and then the next option was, okay, do we go the wholesale route? Do we go into retail, or do we go e-commerce? So we decided let's just do e-commerce. And then the next question was, okay, then do we just rely on like Amazon or those third parties, or do we make our own site? And so this was a conversation that was happening in one sitting. And obviously when we have those meetings, it's always the family, all hands on our family meetings we were having. So it was my sister, my mom, my dad, they were involved, my brother. So we basically were just thinking through, and I think my mom suggested, like, why not just name after our family name? It's like Modi Toys. I immediately just went into I think it was GoDaddy.com, and I went to, because I had no idea, never created websites, but I was like, let me just see if it's available. I kind of did the ModiToys.com. Nothing came up, so I was like, that's a good sign. I
Mhm.
went to GoDaddy and it was available for cheap. I was like, let me buy it. So I secured it. So it was like it happened, must have happened like she suggested it. I checked it and I secured it. I was like, screw it. If it doesn't work out, I'll give it away. Because you have to like book it for 1 year. So that's just how it came about. So we booked the name and then we started working on the logo ideas and stuff like that. But that's actually how this happened. So I think going back to like, when you're writing the book, it's amazing like how I've heard people stories about like they went through this and they went through hell to like come up with a logo. They went through this and to get the website secured and all those things. Things kind of fell into place for us very fast, very easily. Like it was literally this name was suggested. We all like said, yeah, let's try that. And then I booked the name. And at the same time, also booked like India and I think a couple of other countries. So like we have Modi Toys booked out so that people don't take advantage of it, which I'll come to later.
Amazing. I know your logo also has like a meaning behind it. So, can you explain like what does this Modi Toys logo means?
So my sister would be much better person to actually explain this because left those creative ideas to her. But I think one of the things that we agreed in the very beginning, it was to, you know, make toys that represents like a billion people in the world, like there are a billion Hindus. And it was amazing to us that there were no toys that represented us. And I'm not talking about just having a Barbie and a sari. I don't consider that like a cultural representation. So that's where she kind of thought, like, if this is a representation, then we're going to make sure that we come up with a design a logo design that also represents that motivation that we have. And it was to the bracket kind of symbolizes, again, he might be more eloquent in explaining this, but it was basically to kind of have an inclusivity. So like a bracket, it was a very, let's say you leave it blank, then it's basically includes everyone inside. It's not just, like I said, I'm not explaining it as clearly as she would, but it was to make sure that we are representing diversity in the logo. So that's and also the O actually has like with a hand symbol. So that represents like a thankfulness. So that kind of represents like we just kind of felt thankful to be able to have this opportunity to, create this business, which was not discovered. Like I said, it was amazing to us that this had already not been done before, because now they're like about literally, they're like at least 20 businesses that have copied our concept. So that was the amazing part. And this has just happened in like last 2, 3 years I'm talking about, because in the first 1 or 2 years, there were not that many companies. So it was, we feel thankful that we're in this business, or this, we have been able to like now quit our jobs and we're focusing on this full time. So that also like kind of feels, and I have a t-shirt, which also is like the logo there.
Mm.
So we just feel thankful, I guess. There are two meanings in there.
Amazing. So, Viral, now let me ask about your sibling bond. How has been the experience running Modi Toys with your sister, and how has it helped strengthen your sibling bond?
Oh, I don't know if it has helped. Like a lot of times it actually makes us fight a little bit more because we come from our two different backgrounds, right? So she has more of a theoretical knowledge of business. I'm more practical business,
Mm.
and I say that not but she has an MBA. She's more educated than I am, but I basically, like I said, when I was doing business consulting, I was very good at building teams and pretty much executing anything. So that's where I kind of focus on, and so that's where we have divided our roles, and it helps us run the company more efficiently. So she focuses mostly on the creative aspect. She's basically the brains behind the marketing. So I'll give you an example of the how we took off. When we were exploring this idea of Modi Toys, we were always in the challenge. So let's say we were going to take the e-commerce path, but we were dealing with a product that had not existed in the market. And this might also come up later in our conversation, but this was also a product that was based on a Hindu deity. So, we were also in the back of our head, we had this kind of a fear, like, what if we get canceled? This was not a concept back then, but you know what I mean. So we were also kind of taking a risk. So we wanted to kind of market it to the right people, but
Hmm.
also kind of stay a little bit, not scream from the rooftop that we're creating Hindu toys, or at least stay a little bit quiet about that Hindu God toys part.
Mhm.
So what we did was, and in those days, we had like Facebook groups. So we used to sign up for a lot of like parent groups, like NRI Indian groups. So that's how we started the journey. And she was able to get in touch with someone who had appeared on a Shark Tank. I don't know if you remember, but she someone who had presented like she made the baby mats, and so she got in touch with her, asked her to be her mentor and see like how she would be able to give her some advice. And one of the early advice that we received was like start gathering phone numbers or emails or both, best case scenario. So that's how we started. Like we had secured our website. We started launching our website, and then we started sharing our journey. So as soon as we had like a sketch done, and then we earliest part of our illustration, so we shared that on our website. Like, yo, we're coming out with this concept toy. Is a new concept, Facebook groups and stuff. And we asked people to come join if you're interested in joining our email list, or give us your contact details so we can contact you when we are ready to hit the market. So that's how by the time we were ready to actually launch our first toy, we had gathered about 4,000 emails on our contact list.
Wow.
So that's how we started in the earlier part. And like I said, it was mostly thanks to those groups that were, and this is where I needed my sister very much because unfortunately, this is a gender bias, but you don't have that many men's group that I can go and tell, oh, by the way, let's come join this. But mommy groups were a great help. So my
Mm.
sister was able to join them and get a lot of that help from like you know, from her, I guess, from at least like brown mommy groups or like she joined a lot of brown mommy groups in US, in Canada, in UK. So that's where we got a lot of support. And as soon as we started sharing this concept, people loved it. People like, we wish we had this. We had no idea that this was not available in the market. So people became more aware of it. And then I think that when we first launched, we were able to sell out in 2 weeks. And our goal was to, let's say, if we sell out in 6 months, we're going to continue the business. And if we sell out in 1 year, if it takes us more than 1 year to sell out our initial inventory, we're not going to pursue this. We're going to go back to our day jobs. So, and then we sold out in 2 weeks. So that was a lot of the work that went into the background. We gathered people's emails for 1 year almost. So that paid off when we launched.
Amazing. So, lastly, Viral, what advice would you like to give to, aspiring entrepreneurs who have like a unique idea but are unsure how to turn this into a successful business model?
I would say pursue it. Well, it also depends in which stage of life you are. See, if you're young and stupid, I wish I'd started this company when I was very young. I said go for it. You know, you have time to kind of catch up later in life, but you will learn a lot of lessons that you would not ideally learn. That, you know, if you're reading a book, watching a show, or actually just observe or working for somebody else's business. So I would say, like, you know, take a chance. And if you're in your later part of your life where you have kids or something, keep have a backup, have a full-time job, and make sure that you have some sort of security blanket. So, and then try to do this in your part-time, because for myself and Naomi, we both worked. I worked for like at least first 2 years of my when after we launched the company. So I would just suggest people, but go for it. I think the issue is that, you know, a lot of times people are in that idea phase. And even today, right now, because I've started my business and I go and network with people, just in the toy industry, there are so many products that are like, I have so many ideas. Like, if you can come up with this product, no, I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about the raw materials aspect. I'll give an example. I don't care. So voice box that we use in our toys, they're not made in their spare parts are not made in India, for example, which is completely a big shock to me. We have to rely on China. So like the button cell batteries, you don't have any suppliers in India for that. So you have to mostly go and get it from China. So those are the things where, you know, I wish that those opportunities, I had more time so I could go and open up a button cell factory somewhere. But I don't have time because I need to focus on this part, because that's a more of a risky stuff. So I'm just giving you an example of, like, you know, if you see that kind of gap in the market, go after it and pursue it. And because of the political, like, let's just say, for example, a lot of people are trying to diversify. So a lot of opportunities are coming to India because people want to diversify their manufacturing options. I'm talking about the corporations, mostly in America, Europe, um, where they don't want to rely just 100% on China, which was the case until like COVID happened. So now India is benefiting because people are still manufacturing, like, let's say 80% in China, but then they're going to do 15% in India and then 5% in Vietnam. So that also creates an opportunity in different industries. And keep your eyes open and go for it. I'm just, I don't know what else to say. Like, research, find out, you know, and that, like I said, look for that gap in the market and see if there's a market in that gap, because to make that market work, you have to also do a lot of hard work in the back end. Like I just mentioned, what we did, my sister and I did leading up to the launch of our toy. And never just stop trying to educate yourself. Keep asking dumb questions. I think that's like the best way to approach life, is that ask dumb questions, because you'll get a lot of intelligent answers. And, you know, it's just, that's what my sister and I still do. We even, like, let's say, even if we get ideas from our customers, even if it's just one person telling us, if it's something that we make sense or something that we have thought about, we'll listen to them. And we don't just say like, oh, whatever, they don't know what they're talking about. So you never know, like, where the inspiration comes from.
Amazing, great advice and amazing tips.
So yeah, so I completely missed that part. So that was our initial, part of our initial, inspiration, was to make sure that our kids stay educated. So like I mentioned in the earlier part, my parents are very religious. I mean, we are not, like, my brother, my sister and I combined. We're not even 5% combined religious of what my parents are. So I think this is the fear when we started becoming parent, when we were about to become parents. This was another fear that kind of drove to create this business, was that our parents are so religious, but we did not learn. It's because we were bad kids. It's not that lack of trying on their part. It's just that, not bad kids like that. I'm just saying, I'm giving an example, but that fear kind of started gripping us. It's like, if we have retained so less from our parents, then how much are we going to pass on to our kids? And, you know, we were just looking for easy solutions that could help them stay connected. So let's just say, and one of our motto is to spark curiosity about our culture. And that's where these toys come from. So all these toys, like, we don't want to make sure, we want to make sure that each of them have unique quality and unique characteristics. So like say Hanuman has a like monkey features. We want, and my daughters have both asked me like, why is this monkey feature? So that's the curiosity I want them. What is the significance of Hanuman's? And another thing is my sister has authored all the books that go with it. So Hanuman story, this is my favorite book actually, because it's not just about in this culture of bullies. It applies to the bullying culture. If you know someone who's actually getting bullied, like the Hanuman story applies to them, because Hanuman was he's one of the most powerful gods in our in Hindu religion, but he for most of his life he had no idea that he had those powers because he was cursed, but he was powerful, but he had forgotten. So this kind of applies to kids. That is that like every kid is born with their own powers. They just need somebody to guide them. So I think that's something that we want to encourage people find, instead of finding their identity Avengers. Read like about our culture. There's so much to learn, and there's so much to get inspired by just in our own Hindu religion.
Amazing. This is really helping our children, the next generation, to stay connected to their roots and culture and know about the Hindu god and goddesses and their superpowers.
And it helps us whenever we actually get those videos when kids are reciting mantras because of our toys. That's the happiest day of our usually that's the happiest moments for us, because we want to that was our inspiration, and this we see that coming to life. So that's actually a very rewarding experience.
Yeah. Amazing. You guys are doing a great job, and this deserves a lot of appreciation, and needs to be celebrated and talked about. So we wish you all the best, Viral.
Thank you so much, Vandanaji.
Thank you for coming to the show.
So to all our listeners, we hope Veeral's journey has inspired you to pursue your dreams with determination and to embrace your cultural roots with pride. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories and positive vibes on the next episode of Good Vibe Show.